By contrast, the current housing minister has come up with a program that works very simple. He calls up the mayor. He says, everyone knows housing is hell after 8 years of our government. Can I come to town and take credit for homes you were already going to build, and I'll write you a big check if you do it? So he shows up, the city says, yeah, there was already a subdivision going in over there. Let's give the minister credit for that, and in exchange he'll stroke a big check for $40 million with which we can build more bureaucracy. And then the bureaucrats will be happy, the politicians will be happy, and everyone else will be miserable. And so that's what he's been doing. We know that this is not leading to more housing construction because housing starts this year are down 9%. So yes, he can show up and say, oh, look at these 24,000 homes that were already going to be built. But the overall housing starts, the number of shovels put into ground, down 9%. 2 years after this so-called Housing Accelerator was created, not a single solitary new house has been completed. A $4 billion housing program that doesn't build housing. My plan creates a strict mathematical formula that pays for results. Second principle, we're going to require every federally funded transit station be surrounded by housing so that you can live right next to the bus or train. Countless stations that I've been to right across this country are not, they don't have housing. In fact, in Winnipeg, the gatekeepers there actually stepped in to block 2,000 new homes right next to a transit station that was built for those homes. They had to get slapped down in the courts, and what did the Liberals do? They gave more money to the incompetent politicians at Winnipeg City Hall to block housing for the people who need it. Well, I'm going to put all the federal funds for transit stations into a trust, and the city will not get the money for the transit station until there are apartments occupied all around the station. And that way, they will have to hurry up and approve the housing if they want to get the money. We will again pay for results. Next, this bill will require that the federal Minister of Public Works do a full inventory and come to this House within months to announce all the homes, all of the buildings that will be sold in order to build housing. The Prime Minister promised this 8 years ago. And in 8 years, with all the 37,000 federal buildings and 6.2 million square meters of office space, and the thousands of acres, how many homes has he managed to build on federal land and in federal buildings? How many? I asked him, don't worry, he didn't know either. 13. Not 13,000, not 1,300, 13. My bill will make it mandatory by law that the minister come here with a plan to sell off 15% of all federal buildings, thousands of acres of federal land, so that we can build on that land that's being used for nothing. And federal bureaucrats, on the fourth principle, are going to have to get their act together as well. I was speaking with a builder who builds beautiful, environmentally friendly homes and apartments in Atlantic Canada. He's in the process of building a carbon neutral home right now. It'll be the greenest apartment complex in the world. He had to wait 2 years for CMHC to approve the financing on that home. The benchmark is supposed to be 60 days. So here's how life is going to work around here when I'm Prime Minister and in this bill. The CMHC bureaucrats will have to hit the 60-day target within 6 months. If they don't, I'm cutting their pay in half. And if they don't do it within a year, I'm firing the entire executive. It's right in the bill. That's life. If you're a barber, you don't cut hair well, you get fired. If you're a mechanic and the engine block falls out, you get fired. In the real world, when people don't do their job, they don't get bonuses. That's how life works under this Prime Minister for the senior six-figure bureaucracy. This bill puts an end for that. We're going to pay for results, not for bureaucracy and the privilege of incompetent bureaucrats who make life miserable and costly for everyone else. Mr. Speaker, the Building Homes Not Bureaucracy Act is common sense. The common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for his speech. And I think he left out of his speech that under his watch as the so-called housing minister, 800,000 fewer units of affordable housing, Mr. Speaker. But my question for him is, why go to war with mayors over infrastructure? Infrastructure is the key to getting more houses built. Why would he cut that? Inevitably, he'll see fewer homes getting built.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This will have to be a case for unsolved mysteries. He claims that when I was minister, there were 800,000 homes that went missing. Like, what happened to them? The aliens from outer space came and just plucked these homes, and they went up. And when we go around, what's remained? Are the basements still there? Like, where did they go? These guys are unbelievable. It sounds like he's having an LSD flashback or something, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about when I was housing minister. Rent cost half as much, cost $950 to rent the average one bedroom. Now it's just about $2,000. The average mortgage payment on a newly purchased average home was $1,400. Now it's $3,500, an increase of 150%. And the average down payment was a very modest $20,000. That was my record. And we're not proposing to cut infrastructure money. We're proposing to link in dollars for cities to the number of homes that our bureaucrats and mayors allow to be completed. It is an incentive. Those that build more homes will get more money. That's the real world. That's common sense. Let's bring it home.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell the Leader of the Conservatives exactly what happened to those 800,000 units. The rent went up from $750 a month to over $2,000. That's what happened. That's where those 800,000 units went. That's how the Conservatives lost the affordable rental apartments for people that need them. Right now, in this bill that the member has put forward, guess what? There's zero mention of social housing or the need. The Conservative leader talked about Singapore. They have 80% social housing. What does Canada have? 3.5%. The Conservatives cut the co-op program. They gutted social housing. That's why we have this crisis. Why are they not supporting communities in building social housing and co-op housing?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
More homes and more affordable homes. They don't want nationalized government-controlled homes, Mr. Speaker. Now, when I was minister, the average rent was $950. Now it's over $2,000 under this NDP Liberal government. When I was minister, the average mortgage payment on a average newly purchased house was $1,400. Now it is $3,500. Housing was not just affordable, it was cheap when I was minister, and Canadians could afford to buy a house. Now, under the NDP government in BC, BC is probably the most unaffordable housing market in the world. We've tried the Soviet-style experiment in the NDP's heartland of BC, the BC government, and we know the result. It is pain, it is misery, it is tent cities. We don't need a Soviet-style takeover of housing. We need Canadians to have the chance to own their own homes, and that's what they will have when I'm Prime Minister.